Welcome to the Produce on Purpose podcast, where we explore experiencing life being the real you, where we believe you weren't just born to exist, you were born to produce on purpose, with purpose, and through purpose. I'm your host, Randy Adkins Jr., author, teacher, speaker, preacher, and lifelong learner.
And I am your resident guest, Dr. Sherlonda Adkins, also known as the Unstuck Strategist. I am a national board certified PA in psychiatry and a mental health expert and entrepreneur. So many more things, but that's all I'll say today.
Hey, we are definitely going to be talking about something that is soul stirring this episode. This episode, we're going to continue the series where we started last episode, navigating transitions. And it's not just from the lens of the person who's going through the change, but the person who is actually supporting.
Yes, and I think that's important because the person who's supporting oftentimes don't get to get their flowers. I remember when I was in PA school, we had a project that we had to do, and it was to go out and talk to caregivers because so much emphasis is put on the patient. But what about the caregiver? It's kind of hard being a caregiver.
Right. And we are in this together. So we're going to turn that light on and we're going to talk about that one who stands in the place when you're in transition, that silent anchor that you may have, that unspoken strength, the partner, the spouse, the trusted friend who holds space, not just luggage.
Ooh, say that again. Who holds space?
Space, not just luggage.
Not just.
And, they are the ones there during those heavy moves of your life and transition. So let's talk about the power of support that goes beyond I got you to
I see you.
I see you, baby.
I see you too.
Let's talk about our scripture.
All right. So Proverbs 4:23, it says, above all else, guard your heart. Your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And why does this fit what we're talking about? Well, this verse centers on living with intention and authenticity and paying attention and being mindful of what enters and what flows from your heart. So in the context of this episode, it reflects the heart work of both the one in transition, like you said, and then the one that's offering the support. And it speaks to the emotional and spiritual integrity required to hold space, not just luggage, but space for someone else, while not losing yourself in the process. And I've been there before, but that is an important piece, to hold space for someone, but not losing who you are during that process.
Yeah, and as Proverbs talks about, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That includes that we support and how we speak and how we show up and how we love, especially during these transitions. Guarding your heart isn't just about building walls, it is actually about creating a safe space where grace and truth can dwell together. And I think that's really huge because sometimes we think about guarding, but we also have to think about who are we supporting and are we having a place where maybe we need to listen. So I think we should go into this part that's probably interesting. So beyond flowers and fixing things.
Well, there's nothing wrong with flowers and fixing things. Like I like that. And most of the people I know like for people to fix things for them and to, give them flowers, plant some flowers. Actually, yesterday I received a flower. I got my very first orchid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it called? Now, it looked purple, but it was actually...
No, it's pink.
Interesting.
It kind of looks purple, but it's pink. And that was gifted to me by a dear sister friend, someone who has supported me through some of life's recent transitions. And I thought that was just such a beautiful gesture.
So it's natural, though, for us when we are going through transitions, the first thing that comes to mind is, let me get somebody something that's probably more tangible or maybe do some type of service. But a lot of times it could be, maybe we're thinking about, I can just go drop a meal off to them. Maybe I'll go pay all of their bills.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Give them some advice that may help them during this transition time. But really, what happens in these in between moments, when your partner is really they're not asking for a solution. They're just asking for safety.
We see that a lot, individual relationships, and also this reminds me of when, like, bereavement, when someone loses someone close to them, that part about going to drop off meals. So I think it's cultural. I grew up seeing that and I still see it. And it's a great way to show support. But I like to challenge people and ask them, when you do those things, are you doing it really to make yourself feel better? Checking the box, showing up for somebody in your own way, or are you really sitting and looking and seeing what that person may need in that particular moment? Because I guarantee you, a grieving family probably doesn't need like the eighth box of chicken
Wow.
or 2 liters of, sodas to drink, but that's something that I see often. But sometimes just holding space, you mentioned like safety and holding space. It could just be showing up and just sitting with somebody and being comfortable with not feeling like you have to do something, bring the chicken, bring in the soda, or whatever the case may be. So it's definitely a conversation worth having because a lot of times it's mindless. And we want to talk about being mindfully present when we are supporting someone.
It's interesting because those uncomfortable moments when someone's going through a transition, we're not just talking grief, it could be any transition in their life. We may not have what needs to be said at the time. I may not have the words to convey to the person, but sometimes it's just showing up. It's just being there. It's just listening. And you may not have anything to say, which is fine. And I think we have to get, you said, be comfortable in that space when you may not have what to say. And I know for us, as a husband and a wife, there's going to be times when we don't know what to say in the middle of going through something. And sometimes we just need a hug. Sometimes I just need a hug, man.
I know, and I love giving you hugs, and I'm laughing as you're talking because oh my gosh, I'm glad that I can't like see inside your mind, inside the walls of your mind because I get on my own nerves sometimes. So when you are able to just listen to me, whether it's some idea or it's me processing, because I tend to think a lot, I'm in my head a lot. And when I do come outside my head and speak, I don't know what it sounds like. I remember some years ago when we just agreed that we would be safe spaces for each other to talk our raw thoughts without them being processed, like without trying to, dress it up, put honey on it, or make it sound coherent, but just like whatever comes up, like, that is so valuable. I truly appreciate that because you're not always trying to provide a solution, and I don't always want a solution. I just want to just get it out. It's like a cleansing. And so when you're able to do that for me and you've done that, it's valuable. It's more than money could ever buy for sure.
I haven't always been there. I'm a solutions guy. So my first thing is you start telling me something and my brain starts to process, well, how can I fix it? And I know for a long time, that's really what I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, okay, all right, well, how can I fix it? And really, many of the times, it's just listening, and there may not be a solution, but also trying to be empathetic in the moment and try to understand what those things are. And sometimes, maybe not even trying to understand, but just listening because, like you said, raw thoughts. If both of us, we could rattle off something, and this is where you become really vulnerable because it could sound not quite right because it's not fully thought out, fully processed, but you give a place that's really safe and sacred to be able to have conversations that really show love. And that's really important.
And I love that word you just said. You said sacred. So, whenever we're supporting someone during a transition, oftentimes transitions, we don't know what the other side is probably going to be beautiful, but while going through that transition, it can be some very uncomfortable feelings of uncertainty, doubt, or even loneliness. So, when you get to hold space with a person during that time, that is a sacred space, not to be taken lightly. And you mentioned the word empathy, so empathy as like a quiet ministry. Now, I work in mental health, so I hear lots of heartbreaking, sad, devastating things that people have gone through. Do you know what the difference between empathy and sympathy is?
Now, isn't empathy where I always think about the word compassion when I think of sympathy, and then empathy is like you're putting yourself in somebody's actual shoes.
Yeah, exactly. So empathy is your this analogy was sympathy stands over the situation and
Mhm.
empathy climbs into the story and sits and tries to understand. And when I'm working with patients, I don't they're not coming to me for sympathy. They're coming for solutions. You know, you talked about solutions a moment ago, but to help them navigate these transitions because with sympathy, sometimes with sympathy, oh my gosh, if I transition straight to sympathy, I don't think I would be a big help because I would probably be in tears myself. But empathy is very important. I remember one time supporting a friend who was in a very low place, not because of failure, but because of some internal conflict. And the world saw her as this brilliant person, but behind closed doors, she was wrestling with whether or not she was being true to who she was. So that sounds almost like imposter syndrome a bit.
Mhm.
And my instinct was to encourage her to say, "You got this, girl. You know, keep going, keep going." But she didn't need that. She needed somebody to just let her cry, to let her vent, to let her be wrong, you know, to just be who she was and not somebody just pushing her saying you got this, keep going. And so a safe space where she didn't have to prove herself, where her struggles didn't have to be polished. That's all she needed. You know, she didn't need that, you know, all those the affirmations. And there's nothing wrong with affirmations and you know, you got this, keep going. There's a place for that. And there's something called discernment that helps us realize when it's time to give those pushes and encouraging words and when it's time to just climb into the story with a person and just be there and listen.
I think this is a very important part of talking about truly the quiet ministry of empathy because there can be times when someone's going through something and we're really trying to give them a quick solution to something that may not have a quick solution. They do need
Mm,
to be in a space where they process, they can cry, they can feel the pain, they can think about the issues. And for all of us, anytime we hear or see someone, if I see you crying, distraught, in pain, we see our children like that. Anytime we see that, we want to quickly fix it.
yep.
And I think that this is one of those superpowers that we can learn in navigating transitions in life is that when we create the safe space for our partners, for our friends, our family, that we are creating a place where they can cry ugly, they can, be in pain, and we are saying to them, no matter what, I'm going to be with you even if you are crying. I'm not going to just try to give you some quick, I could tell you really quickly in many Christianese, ways of saying, hey, God is with you. You should be happy. The joy of the Lord is your strength.
Strength,
You
yeah.
can you could start giving people scriptures. However, maybe at this moment they just need you to be there and let them know that you are there, you feel it with them, and many of us don't want to feel that because feeling is sometimes can be difficult. So when we feel like that and we have that kind of empathy, I believe that it builds closer connection. It actually builds this thing called intimacy. Can you
Mm.
help me with that word intimacy? Because sometimes I believe that we are thinking that we're going to be in a relationship, but we're missing that there needs to be this level of intimacy in different relationships that we have.
Yeah, I remember years ago, and I don't remember who said it, but they broke down the word intimacy and said, like, into me, you see?
Yeah.
So that indicates there's a closeness. Again, sacred. That just keeps coming up, like
Mm.
sacred when I'm thinking about being in these intimate spaces, like, that's sacred because nobody ever has to share with you. When somebody shares with you or when they allow you to come and support them, that's a gift,
Yeah.
right? That's a gift. And I also think about with relationships, people that have supported you in the past, well, every situation is different. It could be similar, but it could impact you in a different way. And the support that you need to get through that particular transition may be different from what you had in the past.
No formula, babe? Because I think some people believe that there is a formula to really being there, but sometimes, again, this is where we got to lean into understanding that in this moment, what am I to do in this moment? And this moment may be different, and it may be with the same person,
Mhm.
but it's a different situation. And every time we should be able to navigate what that is at that moment and at that time, not what I did in the past. And I think that's the difficulty sometimes is we sometimes lean on the past to try to inform what's happening now when right now we really need to be in this present moment and understand, okay, I should be here for this person, for that empathy, and try to have that quiet ministry just rolling. Also, sometimes support in transitions is not just emotional. It is something that is very practical in
Mhm.
what we do.
Yep.
And so maybe you're the one who covered the rent or maybe paid the house payment while your partner built their dream. We can talk about this all day.
Mhm.
Maybe you saw their genius before the world did and said, let's invest in this. Maybe your calendar shrank to make room for their expansion. Now we've traded off throughout different times in life, and one of the times that I can think of most recently is about 10 years ago. You decided that you were going to leave from being in communications, real estate. You were also MPA and public administration, and you were going to become a physician assistant, which
Yep.
meant that you needed support because, first of all, you had to go back to school and you needed support. We had 3 young children at the time. How was that as we transition? Because it is practical when we're talking about supporting each other, especially spouses, family members, friends,
Mhm.
whomever. We have to practically be there to support. I can give my side, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. In cases like that, practical support. Because if you had kept saying, "Oh yeah, baby, you got this, you got it. Oh, I'm here," I would have appreciated that. But what I needed at that time was for someone to help by taking over some of the household duties that I had, where you were able to take those off my plate. I remember now, of course, Google Docs now that's like, oh, everybody, Google Docs. But back then that was new. I had never heard of that. And I remember one day just, freaking out, said, I just don't have time for anything. I'm in school all day. Then I have to study because then we have tests almost every day. And you're like, well, what do you need help with? I was like, I don't know, just going to the grocery store. You're like, fine. So you sent me this link. You said, click on this, put everything that you need to get from the store.
Yeah.
I can see it on my end and I'll take care of it. And I know it sounds really simple, but something like that, it was more than just you being able to see the list and go and get the items. But for me, it was a relief and it's almost like it decreased the amount of space that I had to hold in my brain for household stuff and it allowed me to have more mental real estate for my studies. And when it came time for the kids to, do things on the weekends, well, I couldn't be there a lot of times because I needed to study because those tests, oh my gosh, they were so hard. So much information, but you were like, don't worry about it. I got it. And you made sure that the kids were occupied, that they were well. And so that's what practical support looks like. And obviously it didn't leave too big of a scar on you because you said it's about 10 years ago. It's actually 14 years ago.
Oh wow! Well,
Yeah.
look at that. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed the
Yeah.
moments. I do remember making sure that the kids were taken care of and be like, mom's studying. Let's go do something. Hey, what do you guys want for dinner? Hey, let's go do this or whatever it was. We did it as a family. We enjoyed the moments, And it was still we still made it enjoyable, even though in those times we both sat there, we agreed, we said over the next couple of years, because it was a 27-month program that you were
Mhm.
in, but
Yep.
you had other schooling that you had to go to before that. And it was a little bit of time, but we did it. We did it as a family, we did it together, and it was that support. So that's what's real. That's really love and in action, because I always say that love is not just something that we say that, but love is what we do. It's an action word. I think about the scripture is said that God so loved the world that he gave.
Gave.
So when he
Mhm.
gave, that means he actually did something. And, you know, this also allows for us to build something together and have a legacy that we are able to leave, because we can share that with our children and say, here's what real support looks like. Because it's not always about what's in it for me.
Mhm.
But I think the better question that everyone should always ask every day is, how can I serve someone else? And when it comes to your spouse, when it comes to your children, when it comes to your life, how can I be of best service? And I think that's where you begin to produce on purpose. You become the producer of your life. You begin to create in this world in such a great way.
Yeah, I also think about during that time, our support extended, beyond the household support. But we had some friends. Do you remember when it was during the summertime, before I was taking my prerequisites to apply to PA school, and one of our cars stopped working, and it was
Yeah.
going to be a very expensive fix. Also, we were in the process of buying a house, so we could not just go out and buy a new car, and that was a dilemma because we needed two vehicles. And so we had a very dear friend who just, happened to tell them what was going on, and they provided a vehicle for us to drive. Didn't say you could only have it for a couple, because we had to, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had
It
it
was
for a month and a half or
couple
so.
of months.
Yeah,
Yes.
they never asked about the vehicle. They wouldn't take anything for it when we were trying to pay. And that act of love, that generosity, just meant so much, still means so much to us, for sharing, sharing their gift and sharing their love with us. So support is, when I think about support, some of the words that we say are like, community, support system, your network, your tribe, your village, your posse, sisterhood, brotherhood, bromance. But those are all so important,
Yeah.
extremely important.
I think it's important. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do remember how grateful I was that we had friends that would want to do that. And I had to get back and forth to work, and my car was out, and they came in and they said, "Hey, you can drive this." And it was months before the vehicle was fixed, and lasted a little longer, but it was long enough for us to get back on track where we needed to be. And so it support is about not just fading in the background or just looking at someone, but it is actually saying, I'm going to be there with you in good times, bad times, tough times, hard times, whatever it is. I'm going to be there, and I'm not going to step away. So
Yes.
I think that is awesome.
It is. And talking about love, I think about the heart. And so I'm thinking about the body and how our body supports each other. So the heart and the lungs, they work together. So what happens when you go to the gym and you get on a treadmill and you start running? Does your heart just stay at its regular rate, or does your heart start to increase its rate?
It increases.
It
Yeah.
increases its rate because your body at that time needs more oxygen circulated. Like your lungs are working, trying to get some oxygenated blood to your muscles so that you can do this. And so your heart's like, okay, I got you. I'm gonna speed up. So our body works in multiple systems and networks so that it can provide the support that we need so that we can function. Is really amazing when you sit and think about it. And likewise, we're a heart, we're a unit, we're a family, we're part of a community. And so we do the same thing when we see there's a need. Sometimes we have to pick up our pace, pick up the load a little bit more to be able to supply that, that blood, that life that somebody else needs. temporarily. Now, is your heart going to stay at that increased rate forever?
Nope.
Nope. It's going to come back down at some point.
Yeah.
And so when we are showing up for people, it may be inconvenient. It may be even scary. And sometimes we're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But again, it's the effort, it's your presence. That's often what people need the most.
What happens though when the support is tired too? What do we do if both of us are in that space and there's a transition happening and we're both in transition? So you are praying with one hand
Hmm.
and you're trying to hold the person with your other hand and you're crying in the car and then you're cheering in the crowd. Wow. And it's exhausting. So you are trying to show up and trying to be there, but you're tired. And so it is an honor to be able to be one that is able to support and to be there in your own purpose. Well, God sees it, right? He's seeing what's going on at any time, and sometimes I think that's difficult when we're also in that space. But sometimes I think we have to say, is it something that I can hold on to for enough of a time to be able to at least get through? It might just be today because every day is not a good day, right? Everybody knows that every day is not the best. But in those times, in those moments,
Hmm.
I think if you have conversations with people early on, especially the close ones that you have, that I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there, even if I might not feel the best today. I'm still here, and I'm still going to be there with you.
Okay. So to answer your question, so going back to the example of being on a treadmill and your heart rate increases, but it's not meant to be at that rate long term. Some transitions that we go through will be acute, short term,
Yep.
something you get through a couple of weeks, it's over. And then some will be years. And trying to sustain supporting someone else and yourself by yourself is, I don't recommend it. That's where you have professionals come in. You have counselors, and there's all types of counselors and therapists. You have pastors, you have psychiatric providers, even your regular primary care providers can provide some type of support, but it's not meant for you to continue trying to hold up one person, with this one hand and trying to hold yourself up. Because after a while, if you did that in real life, like physically with your hands,
Yes.
then you're going to get muscle fatigue
Yeah.
and your hands are going to drop. And not only are you going to lose yourself, but you're going to drop the person that you are also trying to support. So I'm a huge proponent of people reaching out and getting professional help to help them through transitions. And because we all have that friend, we all have that person in the family, whether it's big mom, grandma or grandpa, or the strong person that everybody tends to go to. And oftentimes people never really check in to see what that person may be battling before they get the phone call asking, can they support someone else? So you have to understand that we're all human.
Yes.
We have big hearts, but we have limited capacities when it comes time to pour out. So that's my answer to that question. What do you do when you're trying to hold someone up, but also trying to hold yourself up as well?
Yeah, and that makes a whole lot of sense. So in acute situations, you may be able to do something, but when it starts to be something that is long-term care, someone that you're having to be, and it is your responsibility. And kudos to all of those that
Mhm.
are caregivers or are taking care of someone or is helping someone through something that's going on for sometimes months, years, and longer times. However, we are encouraging that you get professional support, get
Absolutely.
help, especially in those moments because you need that support. And when we talk about support there, that's going to help you be able to show up for that person in so much of a better way. Well, how good is it? What good is it for me to be sick and continue to be sick and trying to help someone else that is sick. It's going to continue to go down if we don't do something about it.
Absolutely.
So, if you're being supported by someone, we just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, babe. Thank you for supporting me and all these years. 20, almost 28.
Yeah.
Wow. Time has gone by. And so it's not just for the visible things. It's for those unseen things, those times, those moments, those safe spaces, the soft spaces, the soul stamina, and that patience that you've provided in processing things, so the raw thoughts that we've been able to share with each other. Even when you didn't understand, you're like, now, what are you doing? You rambling? And if you're the supporter, I see you.
So I accept it. I'm gonna accept my flowers. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging the support that I have provided. Because there's something really funny that came to mind, but I'm not. I want to make sure I give this a good example that I'm not trying to deflect with humor because I'm uncomfortable receiving compliments. Because I'm not like I love compliments.
Mhm.
I do. But when you were talking, for those of you who've ever watched, it's I guess it's like a classic, at least in our house now, but it's a Tyler Perry movie called Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And at the end, the main character, she goes, this guy had asked her to marry him and she had said no, but then she changed her mind and she's like, yeah. And then she was like, ask me again. And he was like, well, how do you know? And she said, because I carry you in my spirit. So as you were talking, you were saying all these things. I was like, in my mind, I was like, baby, it's my honor to support you. Like, when we're not together, I carry you in my spirit.
There we go, babe. I get it.
Oh gosh. Okay. But in all seriousness, I want to give a huge shout out to my support system. I have a rich, like really rich and broad, expansive network of sisters around the globe who love me, support me. They encourage my extraness. They allow me to just be me and they celebrate me. And to me, that's huge because they're have been times in the past where I don't feel like, me as a person was like really understood and even appreciated the love that I wanted to give. So now I have so much love to give and so many recipients. And as much love as I give, it's like giving, they're giving me love back. And so I'm just so grateful. Y'all know who you are. And my family, my mom, children, and most of all, you, the one who has the closest access to my heart. I want to say thank you for all of your support. Even you were supporting me like probably the first week that we met because I was this like really uh anxious freshman college student away from home, just want to do the best job she could possibly do and just so like hyper focused on school. And when I met you, you were like that soft chill, like, girl, it's gonna be all right. And I'm like, no, I have to make an A on everything. And so you were supporting me from the beginning, and I attribute my success and how far I've been able to go to the ability that you give me to dream. Like you hold it down so I can dream, and sometimes you have to, pull me back in. But I thank you so much for that, and I'm looking forward to us continuing to support each other and to grow and to also support more people.
Mhm.
We've been through a
Yeah.
lot, we've experienced a lot, we've seen a lot. And I believe to whom much is given, much is required. And it's not even like it's a requirement or obligation, but it's like the desire
Yes.
that we have to want to help other people. Because transitions, we're going to be navigating transitions for the rest of our life while we're here until we make that final transition. And it can be tough sometimes. And so I never want to see anybody like struggle. Just, we're all going to have to go through things that are hard, but we can try to mitigate the suffering that's accompanied with that. And so whatever we can do to help other people, I'm excited about. So
Thank you, babe. I really do accept that as well. I appreciate those flowers as well. And this conversation, I believe that this conversation is going to help many
mhm.
because it's not just superficial, but it really does get down to the core of who we are. It's not just talking about helping somebody through transition, but it's also helping them to transform and become who they really are. And as I have written in the book, Produce on Purpose, Experience Life Being the Real You, is that we want everyone to be able to focus on being the real them. And as you are being the real you, you can then support others in a greater way. And you can also receive that support in a greater way. So,
Yeah.
as we wrap this up, did you want to pull out a card?
Absolutely. So don't forget that I authored a very transformative card deck. It's called the Get Unstuck Card Deck Inner Journey Edition. And as long as I'm the resident guest, we will always end our segment with a card. So remember, there are three categories: there's an ask,
Hmm.
there's an affirm,
Okay.
and there's also an action. So hopefully I'll pull a different card from last time, because if I pull the same card, then it's like, okay, that message is really trying to get through. All right, so this is an affirm, and it's titled Healing. I intentionally use my spoken words as medicine and have the discernment to detect and reject any incoming words that do not bring life energy to me.
Wow.
So I think that goes right along with what we were just talking about, being healing to this world. Like, this is medicine that we're putting out. We're using our words, our spoken words intentionally as medicine, and then having the discernment to reject anything that don't bring life to us or those around us.
Light of times I like the be able to say that the energy that we are receiving and being able to put out, that you are now intentionally in a space where you understand whether or not you're going to receive something or reject it based on whether or not it's going to give you life or it's causing you pain and death.
Yeah, so that's a word for everybody as you go out this week, making life great. And if you would like to have your own set of Get Unstuck cards, you can go to my website and order them at drsherlondaadkins.com.
Awesome. As we bring this episode to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, our cherished listeners. Your presence and engagement enrich our podcast journey. And I'm truly honored to be a part of your growth and your transformation. To ensure that you never miss an episode filled with these insights and inspirations, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform that you're listening on right now. If you found value in today's discussion, I kindly ask for a moment for you to take the time to leave a review. I invite you to share this episode with your friends and family, and let's create a ripple effect of healing and empowerment together. Your words have power to shape this future content of this podcast. And so, what I do is I ask that you give some input, provide your thoughts, share what you have with us so that we can understand new transformative topics that will be coming. Go to randyadkinsjr.com, leave me some of your valuable feedback, share with me questions you may have, and we will respond. And don't forget, today, go get your audiobook and book of the Produce on Purpose, Experience Life Being the Real You. Until next time, remember that every step that you take towards being the real you is a step towards unlocking your boundless potential. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and above all, today be the real you and produce on purpose.